By a show of fingers, who thinks the US economy right now is in lousy shape? Show of fingers, who would describe the US economy right now as being in lousy shape? I've got one of you, John. Okay. In what ways is it in lousy shape, John?
Um, I, I feel like inflation is kind of getting out of hand. It keeps on like flip-flopping. I kind of keep up with like financial YouTubers and stuff like that, and it just seems like it's kind of going back and forth. Like it's a little wishy-washy, and I don't know, things just keep on like going up and up and up, and the federal minimum wage doesn't change. Housing prices continue to rise. And I think just taxes keep on going up and nothing's really like we're not really getting anything in return. Everything's just going up and our like our like the status quo, like nothing's really changing. Our enjoyment of living doesn't change. The cost of living is going up and the way we live just doesn't change.
Okay. Whom do you blame for the economy's being in lousy shape?
Um, I don't particularly blame anyone. Like, I don't point the finger directly at anyone, like at either President Trump or Biden. But something that does affect inflation is spending, and it has been Donald Trump has spent a lot of money. So, I mean, that's something that tells me something about just who Donald Trump is.
Okay. By a show of fingers, who would say that over the past few months, your income has not kept pace with your expenses? Three of you. Okay. And by a show of fingers, who would say that the economy will affect your vote somehow? The economy will affect your vote. Just one, John. Okay. How so, John?
Well, I mean, I live alone. I take care of my I house my brother, I house my girlfriend. Like I take care of them. I try to help them, and I don't really have anything to fall back onto. Like if I have to have a job. If I don't have a job, then I have nothing. So it's like one of those things where um it's every year it gets harder and harder and harder to like pay the bills and just to I guess live life live life without having to slave away at a job for 40 plus hours a week.
But how is it going to affect your vote? I understand how it's affecting your life.
Oh, right. Just because like I want to know that like things are going to get better. I want to know that like we're going to be heading in the right direction to kind of like right this wrong. Like I feel like we keep on like nothing's really being done about it and we're kind of focusing on other issues while this problem kind of keeps on getting worse and worse and worse.
Okay. Um, so help me just understand. So three of you said that your income is not keeping up with your expenses. That's not a function of the economy for the three of you?
I'm still a student, so just time-wise, um, that's what it turns out to. But I understand how it is related to the economy.
Okay. William?
I don't think if Donald Trump even had a plan on the economy that I was totally on board with, that I would still vote for him for the reasons I talked about earlier.
Okay. And Noah?
Yeah, I was gonna say I wish that economic issues could have more of an impact on my decision, but human rights are on the chopping block and things of other sorts. It makes it really difficult.
Okay. Um, so I asked you before about how Harris would make your life better. How would voting for Harris make the economy better? Joel?
I believe that by taxing the wealthy, that will do a whole bunch to help fund government programs, help infrastructure, um, kind of like just all those common goods that the economy is built on. So I have hope that in general things will just move up from there.
Anybody else? Samuel?
Yeah, I hope that she actually does have plans to at least affect the cost of healthcare. That's very important to me and people I'm close with. As far as the grander economy, that's always going up and down, and there's always people who benefit from that the most. But if there's anything she does that can directly help, you know, working class, middle class people, then that would be great.
Anybody else? Let me ask the question a little differently. How many of you would say that if you vote for Harris, you're uncertain that she'll make the economy better? Who fits into that category? Wow, all 7 of you. Okay. How many of you, by a show of fingers, would say if Trump becomes president, you're uncertain that he would make the economy better? Who feels that way? 5 of you. So Andrew and Joel, you think Trump would make the economy better? Why don't you raise your finger?
I guess I was confused with the question. I thought like it meant like, oh, if I raise my finger, it'd be like, oh, he might be okay for it.
Now, let me ask the question again, just to make sure I'm clear about this. For how many of you, by a show of fingers, would you be uncertain whether Trump would make the economy better if he got elected?
I think they understood it. I think they were saying that they are certain on the other side. Because if you're certain, you can be certain on either side. We're saying we're uncertain either way.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm certain that he will wreck the economy.
Okay. Let me ask the question differently. By a show of fingers, who thinks that if Trump becomes president, he will wreck the US economy? Show of fingers. Who feels that way? Okay. So some of you are uncertain what would happen under Trump's in the economy, and some of you are concerned that he would wreck it. Is that fair? Okay. Great. Very quickly, just want to hear from one of you. I'll let you go. How would Trump wreck the economy?
Tariffs.
Tariffs. Okay. Anything else?
Tax structure.
Okay. So by a show of fingers, who thinks the US economy right now is in lousy shape? Who describe the US economy as being in lousy shape? Wow, all 8 of you. In what ways is it in lousy shape? Derek, how is it in lousy shape?
I would say interest rates are way too high.
Okay. Brett?
Inflation continues to be high, and the dollar just does not go anywhere near as far as it did as little as 3 years ago.
James, what about you?
I would say, yeah, everything is too high. Inflation, taxes, interest rates, houses.
Inflation, taxes, interest rates, housing, all those things.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. What else? Anything that people didn't mention?
I believe that there could be improvements in the job market, and that it's kind of hard to like find jobs out of college, especially for me and some of my friends. That's been the experience for us.
Okay.
To piggyback on Eric's point, I've heard things of companies getting tax breaks if it shows that they're hiring. So the concept of phantom jobs has been a relatively new thing, where a job is posted that you go through the process and find out it really doesn't actually exist, that it's fake just so that they can get some kind of tax break. I think those tax breaks should be removed and only post a job if it's real. That's just straight up taking advantage of people and wasting their time.
Got it. Thanks, Brandon. So who do you guys blame for the economy being in lousy shape? Who's to blame for this? Drake, who do you blame?
I'd say mostly the Biden Harris administration. I think that, you know, obviously when Trump didn't get reelected, the economy wasn't in the best place due to COVID and some other factors. But I think, you know, 3.5, close to 4 years, I feel like the Biden-Harris administration could have done something to help more.
Okay. Besides Biden-Harris, who else do you guys blame?
Federal Reserve.
Federal Reserve for doing what?
Not stimulating the economy enough, I guess.
Okay. Who else?
I would say Jerome Powell and just being too conservative on cutting the federal interest rates because they didn't start cutting them until recently.
Okay. Anybody else?
I would agree with James about the Federal Reserve, but mostly just the constant printing of money.
Okay. By a show of fingers, who would say that over the past few months, your income has not kept up with your expenses? Put yourselves in that category. 4 of you do. Okay. By a show of fingers, who says that the economy will affect your vote somehow? Whose vote will be affected by the economy? All 8 of you. And you guys talked earlier about that, so I have, I think, a pretty good sense of how you said that would do that. So you also talked about how you thought Trump would make your lives better. Is there anything you think specifically Trump would do to make the economy better? Any specific? Eric?
I think I don't agree with everything about him increasing tariffs, but I believe like a benefit of increasing tariffs would be encouraging companies that have moved their manufacturing outside of the United States to possibly consider moving back to the United States, which would lead to an increase of jobs in manufacturing in the United States.
Got it. Okay. And how, just last question for you guys. I know we're a minute over. Thank you for giving me an extra minute here. How would a Harris victory make the economy worse? Ebram, how would it make the economy worse?
I mean, I can think of one specific policy that is terrifying. She's talked about an unrealized gains tax. There have been multiple millionaire and billionaire investors that have said that they are pulling every single penny they have in the stock market. That should terrify every single middle-class American.
Okay, got it. Anybody else have anything? One last thing that would be terrible for the economy? Make the economy worse? A plan of hers?
I think she was talking about potentially getting rid of 1031 exchange, which would bring more money to the government, which keeps money away from the government, from the economy itself, and from people, investors.
Okay, you're talking about the real estate provision.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, great.